Senator Pam Wolf authors the bill. She's here now to discuss it. Thanks for joining us today. We appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Let's begin with what will your bill do and what won't it do?
Well, what the bill will do is it's designed to go into place when there is a teacher layoff that a school district needs to make. What it will not do is it is not designed to remove ineffective teachers out of the classroom. What it is designed to do is say that when there is a need for a layoff, the school districts will base their layoffs, number one, on licensure, number two, on teacher performance in the results of an evaluation, and then number three, as a result of seniority. Currently, it's seniority only, and so it will change the order of how teachers are not only laid off, but also how they're recalled in the event of a layoff.
Senator Uyghur and other critics contend that there is a newly created evaluation system in place. Why not give that time to see if it works before introducing new legislation?
Well, the evaluation, it's not a matter of the evaluation working. Even if the evaluation is in place and it's working, that still doesn't address the use of the evaluation in a layoff. The evaluation, once it's in place and working, the same question would still arise in the case of a layoff. It would still be that teachers are being laid off in the order of when they were hired. And what this bill does is make it so that we're going to have that evaluation in place, and now we're going to use this evaluation to determine the order in which we lay teachers off and the order in which we hire them back. And as far as it being in place, it's not going to be in place for several years. This bill will not take effect until the year 16-17. So we are looking at still 5 years down the road before this bill would go into effect.
What are your thoughts on some of the testimony that occurred? One being that it's centered on the fact that the focus of teacher termination seems to be in May, when a testifier believed that it should be an ongoing issue. What are your thoughts?
It absolutely should be an ongoing issue, but this bill does not address that. And teacher effectiveness should be addressed separately, and there should be a way of removing an ineffective teacher at any time. I completely agree that we should not wait for a layoff to remove an ineffective teacher. This bill strictly affects when a layoff needs to occur. But absolutely, we should have a way of removing ineffective teachers at any time, not just waiting for a layoff.
So, Senator Wolf, what do you think of the argument that new teachers in particular need a little bit of time to prove that they are also effective and not just terminated because maybe they test to be ineffective at that time?
With new teachers, what this bill would do as amended is it would allow the school boards the flexibility to consider new teachers when it comes to the layoff process. So if you have a new teacher that's been there and they're still considered new after 3 years, let's say they've been teaching for 3 years and they're still a probationary teacher, but they've been shown to be highly effective, that the school board should have the flexibility to include them when determining the order of layoff. So if they're highly effective, even though they're probationary, and there's an ineffective tenured teacher, the school board should be able to have that opportunity to choose which of the teachers they want to fill that position.
And Senator Wolf, you're a teacher. What did you learn when you were in the trenches or are in the trenches that you're bringing here to the Capitol, and particularly with this legislation?
Well, one of the things with this legislation that was mentioned several times in testimony was the concept of experience and seniority. And the reality is seniority does not always equal experience. For example, with our tenure system, when a teacher becomes tenured in a school district, they're pretty much locked into that school district forever. Because if they leave that school district, they lose their tenure, and when they go to another school district, they're considered a first-year teacher. I did have that happen with me. I had 10 years of experience. I switched to a different school district, which that year happened to have a layoff, and I was bumped and replaced by a teacher who not only had, I think she was like 5 or 6 years, had been teaching, but did not want to come to the school where I was teaching, did not want to teach that class, did not want to do what I was doing, but also wanted to have a job. So there was no flexibility for the school board to say, you know, we have another option here. But because I was considered a probationary teacher, like a first-year teacher, my experience of 10 years did not count in their decision-making. So by adding probationary teachers to that list of potential opportunity or choices for school districts, they could have opted to keep me in that position instead of having somebody else take that position. And that's just one of many. People always assume that probationary teachers are in the first 3 years, and that's not always the case.
So do you support the teacher tenure system?
That's a tricky question because I ultimately support having the best teachers in front of kids. And I would like to see a system where, and part of me, the school boards want to be able to eliminate probationary teachers for any reason, and the unions want to have tenure to protect teachers and make it real difficult to remove ineffective teachers. So I kind of want to go from both ends and say the bottom line is we want effective teachers in the classroom. And if we can do that within the parameters of tenure, great. If not, then maybe we need to look at removing tenure. If we can keep our young teachers that are brand new, that are effective teachers, keep them in the schools and teaching, that's awesome too. And I'd like to see a system where, if a teacher does change schools, that they're not penalized. And you could have a good teacher that's been there for several years but moves to another school, and they might go for year after year after year of being let go because they're probationary teachers.
And I think it's fair to say that members on both sides of the aisle agree with trying to keep the best teachers in the classrooms. Do you think your legislation will be another tool to do this?
Absolutely. I think this will be a big first step in going that direction of making sure that we are keeping the best teachers in front of the students and not getting into all the political rhetoric of this teacher's right versus that teacher's right. All teachers are represented. All teachers, whether they're their first year or they've been there for 20 years, whichever teacher is the best for those students, that's who should be in front of that classroom.
Okay, Senator Wolf, thank you for coming in and discussing your legislation.
Thank you.